I am. You? All right, we'll call to order this meeting of the Sturgis City Council tonight, December 15th. Please stand with me, and Ruth is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Bill, are you? Tonight, Pastor Bill Myros is going to offer us a prayer.
Let us pray. Father, we are so thankful for the beautiful weather that you've given us, the opportunity that we can get our holiday shopping and decorating done for this community. And Father, now I just pray for your wisdom to be upon the councilmen and the mayor as they go through these decisions tonight. And as always, we pray for the peace and prosperity of the city of Sturgis. Amen.
All right, item 3 on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Someone willing to motion approval of the agenda or make a motion to edit it if necessary?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
And a first by Alex and a second by Tony to approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. We have the agenda unanimously. Item 4 is announcements and praise. Councilor Thompson, will you read those again tonight as
Thank
normal?
you. Coming up on this Thursday, the 18th, the Meade County Senior Center will host a holiday meal, a party and a bake auction. They begin with 11 o'clock bake auction. Following the auction, there's a Christmas luncheon party at 11:30, and the menu, oh, Terry, ham and scalloped potatoes and peas and stuffing and rolls and rhubarb cake crisp, and the event is open to the public. And I'm going to be there, so you're welcome to come and join me. Also on Thursday, it's Scrooge Night throughout Sturgis. These are the last-minute shopping deals throughout town. For my shopping, that would be a little early, I'm afraid. Tuesday the 23rd, week from tomorrow, free Christmas dinner, and this is at the Knuckle. Free Christmas dinner, ham, turkey, mashed potatoes and gravy, stuffing and green beans and dinner rolls and pie, and it's free at the Knuckle. Let me see if it has the time. I suppose doesn't say when exactly, but I think if you want to just go down and sit, you'd be welcome. That's on Tuesday the 23rd. Then Wednesday, with Christmas Eve, the city offices will be closing at 1 o'clock. On Thursday, the city offices, the library, and the community center will be closed for Christmas. Saturday the 27th, this is a good one. The Great Pie and Puzzle Race of 2025 will be at noon at the Sturgis Public Library. You can compete to see which team can finish a 300-piece puzzle first. Pie and coffee will be served. 300 pieces, my gosh, that's kind of a kindergarten one. And then on Monday the 29th, there will be a youth cocoa social at 1 o'clock at the Sturgis Library. Enjoy games, festive snack stations, and a movie to wrap up the year at the library. That's Monday, December 29th. And that is the announcements that I have. Thanks to Deb for putting that together.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Been in a few puzzle contests with family. There's a pro tip. Steal some pieces from your competitors. All right, is there any other announcements or praise tonight?
Mayor, since we have a short meeting, I would make an announcement, not legal related, but an announcement about Sturgis's bird population and its status. So yesterday we completed what I believe to be the 39th annual Sturgis Christmas bird count. The Christmas bird count is put on by the Audubon Society. It's a nationwide program. Sturgis has been doing it for almost 40 years. We drop a radius at the post office, the Sturgis post office, 10 miles around town, and a large group of volunteers goes out driving and walking and inventories all the birds that are seen. And I am the coordinator for that, having taken it over about 4 years ago. And we had a great crew, great weather. We went out, saw a lot of birds. Many hundreds of miles were driven and many miles and hours walked. We saw lots of cool species, many waterfowl species up on our wastewater pond up at the treatment plant. It was a real fun day. We probably saw upwards of 35 species, maybe 3,000 different individuals, and we're working on preliminary data. But the Sturgis Christmas bird count's fun. I'll probably get something over to Deb for next year for anyone who is interested in watching their own feeders or coming out and enjoying us and seeing what the bird population is.
Outstanding. Well, I hope the bird count met the numbers that you expected. I think I read something that said that our birds were not doing so well this
Seems
year.
like they're down all over the country, and that's been trending too. But it's a data compilation exercise, a citizen science exercise, and the data that is collected from here and all around the country helps us determine what's happening with bird populations and how they're moving.
Outstanding. Thank you, Eric. Anyone else have an announcement or praise that they'd like to offer tonight? Carrie.
Good evening, Carrie Boloski, HR Director for the City of Sturgis. We had our Christmas party on Thursday, and it was a fantastic time. And so I want to give a shout out to several people. Deb Holland did a lot to put that together. Aaron Jordan, Robin Korth. Public Works did amazing with a setup and tear down. Sean Harrison and Chief Vandewater, mayor and council members who were able to come. It was fantastic. One of the first things, during my first week of being HR director, I had the privilege of kind of walking around and talking to some people. One of the people that I talked to was a little bit frustrated that last year we were not able to have a Christmas party. And so this year, having the Christmas party, and it was completely a potluck. The budget was very minimal. But a fun time was had by all. Some people on the dais won baskets in our drawing. And so, yeah, I just want to give a shout out. I think it was a huge morale booster to our employees, and just want to say a great big thank you. So, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. And I mean, wasn't there you sold tickets for the baskets, and I think we're going to be following up with an article on that, aren't we, Deb? I mean, wasn't very successful Optimist Club fundraiser then?
Yeah, and we delivered that money tonight. It was $708.
Fantastic. $708 to the Optimist Club. We bought raffles. I think it was $1 a ticket and 12 for $10 or something like that, Ann. And so there were a lot of baskets. We had some people win multiple times. However, Deb was drawing, I was calling the numbers. It was all on the up and up. But yeah, it was a great time. So just a shout out to everybody who was involved. And like I said, good morale booster and Merry Christmas. Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas. Any other announcements and praise? Hard to match some of the stuff we've shared today. Oh, Bonnie? I need to get you a booster seat.
I know. And a new knee. Bonnie Albert Sturgis. I just wanted to say, I'm a frequent flyer at the dump, and at the, what is it? It's not the dump. Rebel site. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm a frequent flyer at the Rebel site and at recycling, and I just want to say, because I don't think we've said it out loud again lately, but people are not seeming, well, it only takes one or two, but some people do not seem to know that we no longer have the yard waste roll-offs there, because the last couple times I've been, there have been people who obviously come with their yard waste, their stuffed bags, and there's no place to put it. So I'm usually on my way to the dump anyway, so I threw it in and took it, but we just need to say, again, we're not taking yard waste at the recycle through the winter, so.
Thank you, Bonnie. All right, is that all for announcements and praise tonight? We'll continue on with item 5, non-agenda matters that may come before the council. So anything that's not on the agenda tonight that a member of the audience would like to speak about, come on up.
Don Lee, Keviason, 305 8th Street, Sturgis. I was at your guys' last meeting about a zoning issue, and I guess a praise report in this, as well as I have another prospective buyer looking at my house. So I'm hoping that this zoning doesn't negate them from getting financing. And I guess with that and giving that report to you guys, where are you guys at in getting this addressed?
Well, the council action on that was to take that to the ordinance committee,
Okay.
bring it to the city council, have first, second reading. Eric, do we have anything to add to that at this point?
At the last city council meeting, the council engaged the services of Jana Watson as a contract planning director. Aaron and I had an excellent initial kickoff meeting with her just late last week. We had a long discussion about the mobile home zoning ordinance. She's already working on it. We had productive conversation. We're looking at ways to potentially solve that problem for owners, making sure that there aren't any unintended consequences, and seeing what available options are and what options would take the least amount of time. But as was mentioned in the last council meeting, no matter what we do, it's going to be months just to get it through the legislative process of going through an ordinance change, first reading, second reading, and again, depending on whatever avenues, potential avenues that Jana comes up with and that we work on, there may be different, it may be a zoning change that's going to have some more notice and meeting requirements. It might just be an ordinance text change. We're not sure yet, but we're taking it seriously. We're looking at it. We have Jana tasked out on it, but it's probably going to be at least a few more council meetings before there's another update.
So when you say a few more council meetings, we're talking June?
Well, we have 2 meetings a month,
Okay.
so maybe January, we might have a report from Jana.
Okay.
Yeah, the intent when we get this report, and we'll provide this report back to the council, is to provide some direction, because there's a lot we can do in this particular situation. And before we spend a lot of bandwidth doing a lot of different things, we're going to be able to pose options within different categories, kind of have some discussion on it, get some direction from the council. And then it allows us to work with Jana and the staff to kind of focus specifically on what, those options that we want to develop. So we're hoping for that report in January. I mean, we have a lot going on in January with a lot of other requirements. But I'd say hopefully sometime in January, early February, we can have that report back to council, get your direction, and then working with Jana and the staff, we'll start working something, probably move that through planning, zoning, the ordinance committee, before it ever come back to as initial discussion and move into first and second readings sometime, mid-year, late spring, whatever that might be. But we did get a report from Jana just here a few days ago. And again, we had a good discussion with her here about a week ago in terms of working through the issues and kind of look at what our options are. So we're moving the football forward.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if there are other options, that we can do to that. So it's not the answer that you were looking for, sir, but we are moving that way.
Right. It is the answer I'm looking for. You guys are working on it, and that's where we want you guys to be. I know there were quite a few other concerned citizens that were here last month that were addressing this issue as well. So you'll be seeing me in January as well, just to make sure that this doesn't go to the wayside. Hopefully, if my house doesn't sell again, it's pending on if this zoning becomes an issue with their financing. So I know the last one it did, so we're hoping that it doesn't with this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a non-agenda matter that they want to come before council with? Councilors, any non-agenda item? All right, item 6 is department updates. 6.1 is the November 2025 sales tax report. Administrator Jordan.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Good news. I mean, if you look at our sales tax for November, it is up a little bit from last year. And that 176, almost 177,000, that represents the highest month we probably have ever had in that reporting period. Definitely above, for the last 3 years, the highest. And also just looking at it in comparison, where we're at to date in 2025 compared to 24 and 25, we're up 4.5% from last year to date over the first 11 months, and we're 6% over 2023. We've had this conversation a few times, been an interesting year. We've had some months where it's like the best month ever, and we've had some months where like the worst month ever in some sense. But overall, if you look at that bottom right graph, it gives you a 6-year visual of where sales taxes is over the last 6 years. And so right now, we're at 11 months in, we're as high as we've been. So if you go on to that's general sales, the 1%. And if you go into the next slide, we're looking at the BBB, the tourism tax. Overall, still doing pretty well. We are down just a few $100s from last year, up about 7,000 from back in 2023. And to date, we're just a couple thousand behind last year, and about 17,000 above what we were in 2023. And you can again look at the bottom right graph, and you can look at where it compares. So it's right neck and neck with last year, and last year was the highest month that we'd had before. So overall, again with some of the headwinds that we've had and some of the down and up months, looking at it, over an 11-month time frame, I think it's done pretty well. Pending your questions.
Any questions for Aaron on that? How about from the gallery? All right, thank you, Aaron. Item 6.2 is our financial execution report.
Council. We'll look at the revenues first. On paper, they look like they are up. They aren't up as high as they appear on the report because of some of the revenues that have come in that weren't budgeted for, such as the Richards property and some of those things. But we do still have sales tax that'll be coming in, and we should have a little bit of property tax coming in yet. So hopefully that'll get us a little closer.
From the revenue report, I guess it was interesting to see that property tax collection, a portion to us was actually down.
Right. Yeah, it was. And
I think that tells us a little bit about the state of the economy. I mean, that means we've
Right.
got people that aren't paying their property taxes.
Yeah, hopefully some of that'll come in this next time. Okay, then on the expenses, okay, at the time of the report, everybody was within budget. Community Center let me know today that once we pay the December utilities over there, that they will be over budget. So I got it out and I looked through it. And then we've also got payroll coming out. So once the checks are cut tomorrow and the payroll is calculated on Wednesday, then I'm going to go through and double check everything again and make sure that we're good.
If we're burning into the red, how do we supplement at this date in the?
Well, I guess my recommendation is to do that one last meeting and use contingency.
But don't we have, that's an ordinance, so it takes two, correct?
For contingency,
Is that,
Well, if you do the budget appropriations, the supplement appropriations, that takes a first and a second reading to go through that. If you do a contingency resolution, it's just a resolution. So it's a much more faster approach. We're not sure yet, but we do have some bills coming in. We have 3 weeks between this meeting and the one in January. Talking with our department heads here recently, in the past, we've had some meetings, special meetings in late December for some of those types of bills that may come up. But there may be other approaches. I know I've talked with Mayor Forster. One of the challenges that we've had with utilities, and I don't know if you've read in the news, there's been some challenges with latency with the United States Postal Service. And so when they send checks to us, we have our period of time, we go through our claims process, get in front of the council, get those claims approved, then we cut the check, we stick it in the mail, and that whole process sometimes, from the time that they send it to us, we take the time to be able to go through that process and then send it back in the mail. It's beyond the due date. So I have socialized this with Mayor Forster, maybe creating maybe looking at a creative approach that we could do, that we could be able to get those things, paid. Again, we'd have to work with the council on this, on those types of bills like utilities, pay those things, then come to the council depending on when those come. So that's something we'll just have to take a look at. But based on where we've been with how that process works, it has created some challenges for us. Maybe there's some options though, instead of doing checks, you can do some ACHs, or but that's not necessarily how we're set up. But I don't know, just read an article here late last week with Senator Rounds. I think that was an issue that they've been bringing up with the USPS in terms of the latency, in terms of where they have their distribution centers. If you're sending something from Sturgis in Sturgis, it might end up going into Montana or somewhere else and then come back to Sturgis. We've had some billings. Our water bills were lost, about 3 months ago in that process. So, but again, there might be an opportunity for and I say opportunity, for a special meeting for something like that, but that's something we could look at in late December if we wanted to do a contingency resolution. But again, we'll find out here over the next couple of days, into this week, hopefully, that we'll have an understanding where we sit with that particular budget.
Well, I certainly don't like special meetings. I mean, I profess that, but some cases we need to hold those. I think the community center topic, I mean, I understand the utilities. That's a piece. I mean, even MDU, by the time we receive the bill's due virtually that day. And so it's affected us a little bit. And I think actually, reviewing how some of our neighboring government entities are doing that would actually be a benefit for us. The county has that same problem, and they've got a process that they're using in the auditor's office to pay those bills, and so it might at least give you some ideas that you can bring forward. But the community center, we should have been on that a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
so is there any questions about the revenue side of well, we covered both, I guess. I mean, that's the only budget that we're concerned with.
Yes, right now,
Okay.
until I go back through it.
So then over the whole report, the financial execution reports that are there, is there any questions for council on any of that? It's like Nick is going to say something? No. Okay. Anything from the gallery? All right, we'll continue down department updates. We're at 6.3, sponsorship program update.
Yeah, this is another report from myself. Just kind of giving an update on our sponsorship. I've talked a little bit in the past of where we sit with that. But, we did the financials for the rally last month or last meeting. And obviously, we recognize that the rally is a good revenue generator for the city of Sturgis. And a big component of that revenue is the sponsorships that we have. And we've had these for, a long time. Some of these are well over a decade old in terms of the sponsorships that we have. One of the challenges of the sponsorships, though, is that, we've always kind of operated under this process where those are kind of confidential, private documents. So we haven't really those have not been opened up to the public in the past. That creates a couple of challenges for us. One, there's a legal component of it. In the past, it says with South Dakota law, I think is it 127 or 27-1? 127, where you can enter into an agreements, and there are some times where you can have things that are considered trade secrets, and those can generally be considered redacted, and they're not part of the contract. In the past, we've looked at our contracts. Our legal opinion was that was, the cost of that contract and the deliverables for that contract was confidential. And it's our position as we look at state law, and part of this too is that there's been a large push from the legislature, and I know they got some committees that are working on this now in terms of open records, open meetings, but it's our interpretation that the price of those contracts and the deliverables are not trade secrets. You know, we kind of look as trade secrets if you have Kentucky Fried Chicken, you know, if we had a sponsorship from them, you know, and they had their secret ingredient for their fried chicken in that agreement, that would be a trade secret. But how much they pay the city of Sturgis and what we deliver to them for that sponsorship, we say that's not a trade secret. But again, reasonable people can disagree, and it's all about how you interpret state law, and part of it's looking at where we're at today in terms of the emphasis on open records, being transparent, and you know, and even just open meetings laws. The other component of this is just the political side of it. You know, for the city of Sturgis, and you know, growing up in this town most of my life, I know that's always been an issue for a lot of our citizenship. Is that we don't see these contracts. We don't know how much that we're getting in terms of value for these particular contracts. So we don't show the price of them, and we don't show what the delivery is. Again, based on our financials, we know it does. We make more out of it than we cost, so there's a net positive. But so there's a couple components here that, you know, we've been kind of tasked with by you when you came into council last year, and by the mayor, is to kind of evaluate, you know, these challenges that we have and determine what we can do going forward. In that, we have met with some of our partners over the last couple of weeks, and we have a couple more meetings to have these kind of conversations with them, kind of talk about what our challenges are, why we've kind of made some adjustments on how we look at sponsorships. We primarily, just as I posed it to you, we kind of look at it from two perspectives. On be very transparent with our community, and we want to be forward facing, and they can see all those things. And we also want to make sure that we comply with state law. And again, that was our interpretation, is what I've just described. And in those conversations, I've been pleasantly, I wouldn't say surprised, but it's been really good conversations. They have an understanding of our perspective, and we're still kind of working through having an understanding what their perspective is and how they define and what they look as trade secrets. Are they concerns of being forward facing? Right now it kind of runs the gamut. We have some that have no problem being forward facing. We have some others, just based on the uniqueness of their types of businesses, you know, feel like that would kind of undercut their competitive advantage with their folks. And so, you know, again, we're still working through that to really have a better understanding of what those perspectives are. We kind of looked at basically two options. We haven't really gone through and done the analysis on those two options necessarily, but one option is that if we have any kind of sponsorships, they're forward facing. They're public documents. You can see what we pay for, what they pay us for that sponsorships, and you can clearly see what those deliverables are and what they receive from the city of Sturgis, you know, for that sponsorship. So that's one option. The second option is that we would work through a third party. We'd have that third party could be a public entity, it could be a nonprofit entity that would be established. And I know we've done these options in the past, and some haven't worked as well as maybe what we intended, but those are some options that we could consider. And if we were to go that option, or maybe a hybrid between the two, we would definitely have to look at some of the things in the past that haven't worked and make sure that we mitigate that for the future. But again, that would be premature to kind of get too far into that. I just want to let you know we are having the conversations. They've been very helpful. I think they absolutely understand our perspective. What's been really nice to hear is that, you know, they really want Sturgis to be successful. And they recognize that, you know, for this event to have legs, you know, as we ride to the 100th here in 15 years, that, you know, it's important for us to have that kind of success. They also recognize that for a community to be a strong community, you got to be able to be transparent, right? You got to be able to have those honest conversations and show all the information as we build up the opportunities to be able to grow tourism in general, Raleigh, as we move into the, you know, again, into the next decade. And so that's been pretty enlightening for me to be able to have those conversations and understand that they do have some understanding where we're coming from. But again, we have a few more phone calls to make. We'll have a better understanding what their positions are. We'll have to probably end up having some follow-up conversations to be able to kind of dig into that. But I think the process is on the way, and we did have a kickoff meeting here late last week with the staff as we were kind of wrapping up our AAR, our after action review for the 85th rally, and kind of laid out our kind of our process and some of the things that we're doing for the 86th rally. And so we're definitely leaning forward and making sure that that event is very successful. So if you want more, involved in these conversations, has been myself. Eric is our city attorney. Lance is our director of sponsorship. And the mayor has been able to attend a couple of those also. So pending your questions. Eric, is there anything that you want to emphasize at all? That
I don't think there is. I think Aaron mostly covered it. I think the report covers it great. I think the only thing I would echo that Aaron has said is one of the, it's been really nice to sit down with some of our sponsors and meet them face to face, some of the principals of those companies, and to engage with them and to talk about their interests. And it has been really educational and enlightening to learn more about the industry and how these sponsors really do look at the deliverables and the price of these contracts in different markets at different events as trade secrets. And that makes perfect sense to us why they would in the commercial sense of how that industry is operating. And we just have to reconcile that with the laws that we are required to follow and also the council's direction that it wants to go with transparency. And so like everything, we're trying to make sure that, we don't quickly jump in and try to solve some problem that has unintended consequences down the road. And so we're putting a lot of thought and analysis into this. And so this is only a status report of where we are, but this has been one of the priorities that we've been working on as we're, trying to address the other issues of running the government. But a lot of focus on this. It's been really nice to work with Lance and Aaron and the mayor on it. I think we're making good progress. We'll wrap up some more meetings with our sponsors and we'll be back to the council probably early 2026 with a more complete, full analysis and probably some recommendations. And if there are any questions about the report or anything else, if there's anything I can answer, I'm happy to do it.
Thank you, guys. Any questions or comments from council? How about from the gallery? Anybody got a question or comment? Definitely a big deal for the community. I mean, our last meeting, we had a financial report. We made $1.3 million off of the rally, and we rely on it as part of our budget. So looking forward to the work that's going to come out of this and the success we're going to have in the future. Good with moving on? Yes. All right. Item 7. Public hearings. This is where we've got a tabled item. We've got a consideration to approve the 2025 Dixon Supply LLC property lease amendment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you. Yes, this is the tabled item from the last council meeting. It is a 13-month extension of Dixon Supply LLC's long-term lease of the 1100 Main Street property, the bank building property, and that runs through the calendar year 2026. The current owner of the property who we lease that from, those owners were gracious enough to assist us in declassifying the confidential information contained in the report as of last council meeting. With that, I've included in the council report the details that were asked at the last meeting, pending your questions.
Anybody have any questions, Lance?
I just say I appreciate the effort put forth by everybody to get that information out there.
I have a question, and I think, as I understood at one of our earlier meetings in my tenure here, that we had decided we weren't going to be renting and leasing buildings any longer. Was that a decision or just a suggestion? I mean, nothing against what's happening here, it's just...
Jim, I think that was the discussion and the direction that the council was going. I don't recall that they made a, I mean, had an agenda item that we made a motion on. This item, you know, lines up two partners with the same expiration timeline. So there is some level of benefit. I certainly understand the concern, and I'm with you. We shouldn't be in the business of leasing private property and subleasing it. But in this case, it was based on action that was done previously, and those two items didn't have the same expiration date. I'm not trying to make an excuse for not being as transparent, but we tabled this to bring forward the information, so we do have, you know, all the information on what the lease cost is, what the, you know, sublease cost is, terms, those sorts of things. So I think we're getting closer, and it, to me, although, you know, it'll be up to the council to make the decision on this, it does seem reasonable to try and end those together. Any comments from anyone else, or Jim, did you?
I understand in this case there is a benefit to the city in terms of income. Is there a reason that Dixon isn't working with the owner directly?
Well, right now, I would characterize our current agreement with the owner of that bank is still ongoing. It has 1 year left. And so that's the one that Lance talked about, where we met with the owner, and because the agreement did have language in there about being confidential. And we made an amendment to that contract, and he was fine with that, not removing that requirement for confidentiality and making that a public document. In our conversation with this individual, we said, you know, after this contract ends at the end of 2026, it may be a situation where you're going to have to work with the renters of that bank, Dixon, that's renting the old bank, and work that out. One thing I liked about this particular individual, he says, you know, yeah, I could probably make more money doing it myself, but I kind of like seeing Sturgis, you know, reap some benefit from this. And again, you know, we have had that discussion that we'd want to get out of leasing and subleasing, and absolutely that's a direction we can go in, but I did like the fact that, you know, he wasn't necessarily trying to make more money. He did like the situation where Sturgis was able to profit from a little bit. But we don't profit a lot. I think it's around $7,500 in terms of the difference of what we lease it for and then what we sublease it for. But again, this contract with that owner ends at the 2026, and if we do decide not to have an agreement with him, then he'll have to work directly with the renter of that bank.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a first by Alex and a second by Terry to approve the tabled item, which is consideration to approve the 2025 Dixon Supply property lease amendment. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 8.1 is the mayor's report. We only have one item on that tonight, and that's the hiring of Brady Hanson as a water operator, full-time, non-exempt. And we're happy to see that team be full so that we can keep our water utility running. Anybody have a question on that? Item 9 is the consent agenda. There's only one item on the consent agenda tonight, so no need for much of a spiel on separating things out. The only item is approval of the minutes from the December 1st, 2025 City Council meeting. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns on those minutes? And if not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
First by Jim, a second by Nick to approve the consent agenda. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That is carried. Item 10, approval of the claims. We've got 3 different files on the, in the claims, 10.1, council bills, credit cards, and salary sheet. Anybody have any questions or concerns from the claims for tonight's meeting? One large item on that, $788,000, I believe, somewhere in that, going
That's what I
off
was
my
gonna
memory.
ask. Are we getting that back? Is that like a?
That's reimbursable. That's part of our airport project. And if I recall the process correctly, we have to write the check, prove that we wrote the check, and then we can submit for repayment on that.
I'll move to approve all 3. Do you want to take them separately?
I think we can do that as a whole. You agree? Yeah. First by Mark, a second by Terry to approve all the claims. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Claims have been approved, and that was unanimously. Item 11 is reports. Consideration to approve the 2025 1886 Properties LLC property lease amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as mentioned with the Dixon Supply lease, which had been tabled, this particular item is the mutual agreement between the property owner of the bank building, I should say the property owners, and the city. It contains this amendment, the language necessary to make this a public-facing document, a public record. And that is our lease of the bank building property.
So connected action to our item 7.1.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
Yeah, first by Nick, a second by Tony to approve the connected action from item 7.1, the consideration to approve 1886 Properties LLC property lease amendment for 1 year. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That is carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 12.2 is approval of Blue Peak Business Services Agreement and addendum. The addendum was additional service we had to add for the new well on the southeast corner of the community, part of our communication system in order to monitor the well statuses and so on and so forth. And it had been an awful long time since Blue Peak had upgraded their agreement. We worked pretty hard internally on making sure that this agreement, while it met what Blue Peak needed, it didn't box us into a corner where we couldn't make adjustments to our Blue Peak services. And that's a thing that, you know, I've been hoping to see us get to and work on more prolifically. I will say that in the recent months, there has been some progress on some Blue Peak services at Rally Point, where we've seen some cost reductions, and we'll actually see a refund from them on that. But we have a whole lot more to do with this, and for me, that was a big part that Attorney Davis led us through to make sure that we had an agreement that met the needs of the vendor, but also provided us the way to make the adjustments that we needed to make, whether it be our telephone system, our internet services, or anything else that we have through Blue Peak. Does anyone have any questions about agreement? Aaron, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add.
Eric?
No.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
We've got a first by Terry, a second by Ruth to approve Blue Peak Business Services Agreement and addendum. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That is carried unanimously. Eric, do we have a need for executive session tonight?
Yes, a quick one. No action anticipated to consult with legal counsel about proposed or pending litigation pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2 sub 3.
So we have a need for executive session for legal. Is there someone willing to motion executive session?
I'll move.
I'll second.
First by Mark, a second by Nick. Go into executive session. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. All right, I expect this to be pretty short. We're gonna go Looks like we've got it over here, we're ready. All right, we've returned from executive session. I'd like to see or find a motion for returning to regular session.
Motion to return.
Second.
Got a first by Alex, a second by Jim to go back into regular session. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion is carried. We're in regular session. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Looking for a motion to approve, or to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
First by Mark, second by Alex to adjourn tonight's meeting. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.